Hi everyone, today I'm painting this stairwell and hallway in the color Silver Strand. And today while I paint, I'm also going to be reading some more Reddit stories, except these are from the subreddit called Tales from Your Servers. If y'all haven't heard of it, it's a subreddit with tons of crazy and funny stories from servers and restaurants. And I actually used to be a server and bartender when I was in college, and there were a lot of crazy things that would happen at work. So I definitely find these stories a little extra funny and relatable. So yeah, let's get into it and get started on the stories. So this first story is called Getting Spit On for Educating a Customer That Salmon Is Indeed a Fish. This was around 10 years ago and is one of many of my worst server experiences. I was a young whippersnapper of around 20 years old. I was working at a restaurant that could be defined as a French inspired bistro. We had a table of 8 come in on the older side of middle aged ladies, all in very similar knitted sweaters, and it was clear from the get go that there was a leader, quote unquote. From the very beginning, I felt the leader wanted a fight, and her friends were her sheep/slash disciples. The ordering process was the leader bossing around her friends on their choice of orders and then shaming them all for eating the butter with the complimentary bread. I found it odd that they were all strangely just agreeing with her while also still dipping the ramekins in the butter. The leader ordered the New Zealand salmon fillet. I thought, great, that wasn't too bad. How wrong I was. I delivered the leader's salmon first. It's a deliciously crispy, skin on fillet, perfectly cooked with a lovely array of sides. As soon as I put the dish down in front of her, all hell breaks loose. She says, "What is this?" I replied, "This is the salmon fillet you ordered." And she says, "But this is a fish." I was, of course, questioning all my life choices. "Yes, it's the salmon you ordered." I ordered salmon, not fish. I was honestly gobsmacked at this point, and my little 20-year-old brain couldn't compute that this grown ass lady in her white pearled sweater was unaware that salmon was a fish. To my utter dismay, shock, and disappointment, all of her disciples started aiding their mighty gray haired leader, saying, "Yeah, yeah." I ended up saying, "But salmon is a fish." That was the wrong thing to say. She got up from her chair, right up into my face, and started screaming at me that how dare I be so insolent, and that I was trying to embarrass her in front of her friends. She then proceeded to spit on me. On my face, I think I just went into shock really. Thankfully, the chef had seen this lady spit on me through the window and had got the manager, who then kicked them out. Thank God for supportive managers. So you know what? The customer is not always right. And in case you're also in the dark about this, salmon is indeed a fish. Okay, so the second one's called Guy Tips Big to Impress Date but Returns Afterwards to Take Money Back. We had a guy come in last night with his date. Throughout the evening, he was the picture of courtesy and good manners. He complimented me, thanked me every time I came to refresh waters or check on the table, made a point to be forgiving of a kitchen mistake, super extra nice. The dream customer, really. I appreciated it, but didn't delude myself that I was a source and figured, he was just having a good time, was in a good mood because of the date. They were chatting, laughing, having a great time, so I assumed I was an indirect beneficiary. He was certainly in some kind of celebratory mood because he was sparing no expense. He asked for our highest quality wine, she got our most expensive entree, he ordered one of every appetizer for her to sample when she made a remark that she was having trouble deciding. It was a real feast. So the evening starts wrapping up and I get their check. I ask if they'll be together or separate. She starts to say separate, but he makes a big deal of saying, "Oh, are you kidding? Together, definitely together. You never have to pay when you're with me, babe." And so forth and so on. Then slides me a credit card. I get everything started and bring out the receipt. He fills it out and it came to $289 total. He doesn't even blink and makes a big show of leaving a $100 tip. He thanks me for my service and emphasizes what a lovely night they've had. Of course, a tip that size is exceptional, so I thanked him profusely. He said there was no need to thank him and goes on a big tear about how underappreciated waitstaff are and to just think of it as a stand-in for all the ingrates that didn't treat me right. Going, "Don't plan to tip, don't plan to eat out, you know?" looking at the mesmerized girl the whole time and not giving me a glance. I could care less where he was looking. I was looking at the upcoming $100. I thanked him again and said I hope to see them back soon, and that was that. So he helps her into her coat and off they go. Great night, I was riding high. About 90 seconds later, he's back in the door without her going, I think I left my... Then when the door was shut and looking to make sure she was out of earshot, he goes, without the slightest shade of shame or embarrassment, he says, mark the tip down to $20, hon. I was just playing it up for my date. You understand. And then turns to go. I understood, but not how he hoped I would. But I couldn't make a scene in the middle of work. That was not my place. So I just said one more time in order to give his conscience a chance to sink in. Okay, sir, so you'd like to amend your tip from $100 to $20. Is that correct? And even though I didn't show a hint of displeasure in my voice, he shot back, extremely hostile. Yes, and if I see a cent over 20 on there, I'm going to dispute the whole meal with my credit vendor, so don't try to pull anything. The most frustrating part of this for me was not even going from over a 30% tip to 10%, but rather that this poor girl was being strung along with no idea who the guy was behind her back. It was extremely manipulative of him, which is a major red flag. I've had my fair share of toxic relationships in the past and really wish someone had pulled the blinders off my eyes. So I desperately wanted to do something to alert this girl to the trick that the guy had pulled, hoping it would be a catalyst to her questioning his other actions. But again, I was at work and that just wasn't my place. So I altered the bill and that was that. Then, just in time, something occurred to me and I darted outside hoping to catch them in the parking lot. I got lucky. They parked on the street instead, and he was still dealing with the parking meter. So I flagged him down and rushed across the street, nearly stumbling into traffic in my haste for a delicious moment. His date was already in the car but rolled down her window since no one expects the waitress to follow you out to your car, waving her arms like a crazy person. I made it across and said, more than loudly enough for her to hear, Sir, we amended your tip from $100 down to $20 as you requested, but you'll actually need to fill out a different receipt reflecting your new total for our records. Your old receipt still has your original tip of $100 written on it, but since you just came in and asked us to charge you $20 instead, we can't have a discrepancy in our records. I hope you understand. This is just a bookkeeping regulation that goes way above me. It was nothing to do with your retroactively downgrading your tip from $20 to $100. We're just glad you enjoyed your evening. His jaw was on the floor. He tried to pretend as though he didn't know what I was talking about, trying to give me some line about, I think you're after someone else. I'd only come back because I had forgot my keys, but I would not let it rest. The more he played dumb, the more I repeated versions of, you wanted to change your tip from $100 down to $20, you came back in, and on and on. So we went back and forth for a few more seconds when he finally went, okay, whatever, sorry for the miscommunication. If you need me to fill out a new receipt, I can. And I was just like, you only need to fill out a new receipt if you want to change your tip from $100 to $20. And I'm guessing he didn't have the money in his account because he did it. He filled out the new receipt. His girlfriend was visibly shocked and the man was staring daggers through me. You could really feel the rage emanating off of him. It was vicariously quite satisfying in place of other toxic men I never got to do that confrontation with, and all the bad tippers. And then off they drove, I'm sure never to patronize our restaurant again, but hopefully never to go out together again either, which would make it totally worth it. Okay, so this next story is called Screamed At for Saving Someone's Life. I'm a full-time student getting my PhD at age 30, and I work full-time as a server. I've been working at this Greek bistro for the greatest people for almost 15 years now. I started busing at almost 16 and I'm now a manager. So a few months ago, it's around 6, and one of our regulars, I'll call him Andy, comes in. Andy works at a mattress store and always comes in for lunch. He's an awesome guy and he's a big guy. He's close to 400 pounds. Anyway, Andy shows up after work with a woman. She's maybe a good 10 or so years older than him. It's obvious they're on a date. So we make a fuss over him. The owner's wife gets him our best table and we bring them a complimentary glass of champagne. He orders our platter of meat. She orders a vegetarian platter. They are eating and I hear her gasp. Andy's face is blue and his hands are over his throat. So I go over and I give him the Heimlich while the owner calls 911. I'm giving him back blows when his date whacks me with her purse. "You're hurting him. I took first aid, that's not right." She's screaming in my face while he's choking. The owner pulls her away from me. She's still screaming. Andy's piece of steak goes flying. He's able to breathe. The paramedics are there and she's telling them that I hurt him. The paramedics tell her I saved his life. Anyway, they end up taking Andy in because he was wheezing a bit. She throws me a dirty look and follows them out. 2 days later, Andy comes in for lunch with his coworker, and he thanks me over and over. Then he tells me that it was the first date and last date with that woman. He brought his new girlfriend in yesterday. She loved the restaurant, and best of all, she's nice. Okay, so this next story is called, "What's the worst date you've ever waited on?" I had a table last weekend, and it was by far the worst date I've ever seen. They sit down about 20 minutes into my shift and are being giggly and cute. She mentions it's their first date. My job is not really a first date kind of place, more like I don't feel like cooking and it's the only restaurant open for 30 minutes any direction kind of place. I'm taking drink orders, and she says she's not really a drinker but would have a seltzer. This man orders 3 natural lights. They don't order for another 2 hours, but the guy keeps ordering beers 2 or 3 at a time. Finally, they order, but he doesn't eat. He just complains to have it taken off the bill. During the discussion, he mentions that the woman is paying, which is insane. Not that a woman shouldn't pay, but that he knows his non-drinking companion is paying and is slamming beers. At this point, I stop serving him alcohol. He's had 12 beers. He starts asking about my t-shirt. It had a logo for a local mechanic shop on it. Classy, I know. And I realize he went to school with my husband. This man owns the very successful mechanic shop that I'm wearing the t-shirt of, and is letting this nice woman pay for his 1,000 beers while she sips a single drink. They continue to stay, and he's sneaking beers from the bartender. Another 12 we realize after they leave. A weird regular joins their booth, and when the woman says she's uncomfortable and is getting up, he stays and talks to the strange man for another 30 minutes. Then he leaves to take the creep home. He did come back, and for some reason this lady stayed at the bar. So when he tried sitting by her, she told him not to speak to her anymore. This made him try to fight the nearest person, which was a man easily in his late 60s that is totally uninvolved. These people had me staying an hour after my shift ended before I finally transferred them to the bartender. They kept asking to pay, then never producing money, and continued to order things. I did stay after to see how it wrapped up, though. I've never seen anyone make such a horrible first impression or someone put up with so much disrespect for so long. Okay, so this next one's called, "If I order a glass of wine, do I pay for it?" A tale of the table that made me question reality. Yesterday, two people sat themselves in a section at a dirty table. The tablecloth hadn't been changed yet. The people weren't rude exactly, but while we resat the table, they asked, "Where's our menus?" while the busser, me, and the host are trying to move around them, clearing plates and glasses. They acted confused, if anything, like, how dare this table not be ready for us at a reservation-based fine dining restaurant? I got waters and I tried to do my spiel, the whole "these are the chef specials," etc., and they interrupted me. "If I order a glass of wine, do I pay for it?" I thought I misheard, so I asked, "What do you mean?" and they repeated themselves. I said very professionally, "Yes, it'll be on your bill at the end of the dining experience." "Oh," they said, disappointed and confused. "Do I want the burger or the salmon?" I said, "Are you in the mood for red meat or seafood? The burger is garnished with XYZ, the salmon's on top of these vegetables." Again, I get a stare of confusion. "I can give you a moment if you would like to review the menu further." They say, "No, we're ready now." I said, "Okay, what do you want?" Not what do you want. I said, "Okay, what would you like?" They said, "I don't know." In my brain right now, I'm just wondering, WTF is happening? There is no language barrier. There doesn't seem to be a culture barrier. They aren't acting rude or upset, just confused. They're well dressed and at least 40. They have to have gone to a restaurant before to know how this works. The other friend then says, "She's asking you what you would order." Okay, all right. She wants me to decide for her. That's actually pretty common. You just need to explicitly say that. All right, I suggest a salmon then. And for you? like speaking to the guy. He says, "I'll have the blah blah filet, well done, absolutely no pink." I repeat the order back, they agree. I think I'm in the clear and I'm about to walk away. I hear, "Will you bring us appetizers?" Of course, what would you like? Then, not even opening the menu, say chicken wings. I apologize, we don't have chicken wings. Might I suggest X or Y appetizers? We also have Z chicken entree, which would be the closest thing to chicken wings. And it's an excellent sharing option. I get a blank stare. The other friend says she just wants something fast. I explain that we have a scratch kitchen and all the appetizers take as long or longer than the entrees, even a well-done steak. I offered to bring extra bread and again repeated the order. Decided on entrees only and extra bread. I brought 2 portions of bread. Here you are. Freshly baked bread and whipped butter. Our bread looks like bread. There's no mistaking it for anything else. The table looks at me confused, like I messed something up. They say, "This is bread?" I say, "Yes." They say, "So this is bread?" I say, "Yes, it's our baked in-house bread." They say, "At popular restaurant, they have XYZ bread and served with oil. Why is this your bread? It's not XYZ bread." I say, "You're right, it is different bread. I would be happy to bring you olive oil for dipping. Would you like olive oil?" They say, "No. Are you sure you don't have other restaurants' bread?" "Okay, if you want bread, maybe go there." I say, "Yeah, I'm sure I don't. I apologize. Is there anything else I can bring you at the moment?" They say no, filled with disappointment and confusion. 30 to 40 minutes later, a food runner finds me with blah blah filet in hand. Table 77 said they didn't order this. I go up to the table. "You ordered the blah blah filet, cooked well done, correct?" He said, "Yeah, I want the blah blah filet." I say, "Okay, here's your blah blah filet." He says, No, that is not the blah blah filet. It doesn't have the, it's like in parentheses. She then decides a completely different steak with other garnishes and sides that we don't carry. So she's like, yeah, I guess she's naming a different fish entree from another restaurant. So I say, I apologize that the blah blah filet was not what you had envisioned. However, this restaurant does not have the meal you described. Would you like to enjoy this meal or order something else from our menu? They say, "Yes, I want the blah blah filet." My brain is melting. I feel like I'm losing my grip on reality. Am I not communicating properly? Why are me and this table not living in the same reality? What is happening? I tell them this is the blah blah filet. I say, gesturing to the plate in front of her. She says, "Oh no, it's not." After a few back and forth, she decided that she did not want the blah blah filet or anything else. She sat and watched her friend eat dinner in record time. Chicken wing lady was really hungry. I dropped off the check, processed the card, easy. When I see she has finished signing it, I go back to the table and ask if I can take the check presenter if you're all set with it. She then hands me her untouched, still folded cloth napkin. To her credit, both are black and rectangular, but there's definitely a texture and weight and material difference you would immediately notice. "I can clear this napkin for you, but may I also have the check presenter?" She said, "I just gave it to you." She had no malice or anger in her voice. I double-checked and nope, it was a napkin. I eventually got the check, tipped 15%, which was honestly better than I hoped. They left their jacket, and no surprises here, the tags were still on. Of course, they're the type of people who wear things and return them. The whole thing just left me exasperated and bewildered. It completely drained my social and emotional battery. I felt like Kate McKinnon in the reenactment of Gaslight skit, where he's like, "This is a steak," and she's like, I'm pretty sure it's a pineapple." Okay, so this next story is not really funny or anything like that, but I still found it pretty interesting. It's called "I Never Really Noticed Casual Racism Until I Hired a Black Man as a Waiter at My Restaurant." Okay, so it says, "I live in a fairly white town. Our craft beer restaurant has had a following since we opened. Our demographic tended to be older white men, but recently we've attracted the millennial crowd in increasing numbers. I became the front of house manager about 2 years ago. I hired the crew we currently have, and they have amazing chemistry with each other and customers. Last fall, I hired a young African American man. I wouldn't say his race was even consciously considered by me. and he has been by no means incompetent in his job. There are occasional reminders and constant gentle pressure given towards certain areas of improvement, but that's how it goes with all my staff. However, complaints about his service has been disproportionate compared to all the other servers. For example, quote unquote, that kid over there is talking to someone when he should be bringing our drinks. Well, okay, that someone is the business owner, and when I checked the ticket, they had been waiting for their drinks about 2 minutes. They got their drinks about 30 seconds later. Example 2, someone flagging me down about a server standing there doing nothing. It was him putting in a large order at our POS terminal. There's been about 6 or so instances of this in the past 2 months. And you know what's common about these complaints? They're all coming from boomer generation white men. Now, there are issues with such a meal item going wrong, but these types of errors are almost evenly distributed across all staff. But all these complaints about standing around, meandering, are always directed towards him, and when I check on the issue, he's always doing something job-related. Hell, the guy has about 100% record for coming in when called or asked to stay late. He has a great work ethic. But Jesus effing Christ, it's interesting and very sad to see some of the BS I'm sure many African Americans have to put up with. Okay, so this last story is called, Yes, My Girlfriend is There with Another Man. Please let her know that her boyfriend paid the tab. So it says, sharing with permission from a friend who doesn't use Reddit. My friend is a manager at a popular tapas spot. One night she received a call from a man whose girlfriend was currently dining in, asking to send a bottle of his girlfriend's favorite wine to her table and to pay her tab over the phone. He made a point to make sure that the server knew it was from him, her boyfriend. Turns out she was on a date with another man and he found out. The server knew and told them anyway that her boyfriend paid their tab and sent the bottle of wine. Apparently their facial expressions and abrupt exit was priceless. Gosh, I wish this could have happened when I worked. The karma all servers would love to watch. Yeah, so those were all the stories. Thank you all so much for watching, especially to the end. Let me know in the comments if y'all prefer the Reddit stories, like I think I kind of prefer, or if y'all like the more natural sounds or just quiet, because it's also kind of nice. Yeah, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one.